needs to be done in the way we legally think about indigenous people's rights. Unfortunately, Kenya does not recognize the term indigenous. It talks about marginalized, but we also use that opportunity when we write papers. I've got a couple of papers that I've written that I will share with the Kaunga. So some of you that would want to read can read about it. But in a nutshell, it's one step ahead in terms of indigenous communities realizing their right to land. The biggest challenge is this. Neo-colonialism, when the Mzungu left, he left the land to a black Mzungu. Witness. Upon a time we did what we call land mapping. We got some aid from a Danish organization. You know what the government did? They gave them 24 hours to leave this country. 24 hours. That's because we still have the data. I have the data. Laikipia land mapping. That 75% of Laikipia is owned by 35 people. Yes? Yeah. Can you imagine? And so we still have a long way to go. And forums like this will encourage us, will help us. It's good we have Kenya Lands Commission here. They're hearing this. If you want data, we can give you that data. Yeah, so it's good when we have such forums quite frequently to educate us, to educate others, because we are aging. Uliona Kaunga jana ndevu imekuwa nyeupe. Those days, 15 years ago, hakuwa na ndevu nyeupe. Go ye into the world and spread the good news. The good news is very simple. Rights and justice. That is the good news about us indigenous people that we want to profess, confess, and evangelize.
Thank you, Prof. I think you've just summed it up very well. We go out and evangelize, and our evangelization is about indigenous people's rights, and justice to land and environmental justice are really important. What a way of putting that into summary. Allow me to take the other panelists. This will be Tanzania. Paulo Rokanga, please introduce yourself and a little bit about the work that you do, and then address the subject. Karibu.
Asante. Kwa majina, mimi naitwa Paulo Rokonga, natokea shirika lisilo la kiserikali Tanzania. Yes, tachanganya. I'm Paulo Rokonga from Tanzania. I'm working with the organization called Ujamaa Community Resource Team. Ujamaa Community Resource Team is the organization trying to help the community of pastoralists and hunter-gatherers of northern Tanzania on the issues of the land right. And straight to the question that is forwarded to me, which says, how has the Tanzanian Village Land Act impacted indigenous community or indigenous land right in the context of the environmental protection? On the context of the Tanzania, we have the laws, land laws of 1999. Tunaita sheria ya ardhi ya vijiji ya mwaka 1999. It gives the community the opportunity to own and have the right of their parcel of the land, and also the community of indigenous, like the pastoralists and indigenous, also have the same right to have the right and own the land through that act. Na hii inampa fursa jamii hizi kumiliki ardhi kama watu wengine na kuwa na access katika ardhi wanayotumia. Kwa kupitia vitu vingi, kuna tunaita cheti cha ardhi ya kijiji, village land certificate. Kwa hiyo kijiji anaweza sasa, wanaweza kuwapa wananchi wake hati kwa kupitia pale, and the same the indigenous community wanaweza wakapply the same kama watu wengine wanapofanya. Kuna challenges kidogo ambazo tunazipitia when they trying to make that. Kwa mfano migongano ya kisheria, for instance pastoralist areas sometimes inakuja kuwa demarcated and to put aside for the conservation of the wildlife. So a place that maybe people, this community have conserved, become attracting the wildlife in many ways. The government will come, and because of that they say, because they have the potential advantage for the preserving of the wildlife, then wanakuja sasa kuchukua na kufanya kama ni sehemu ya wanyamapori. And according to our laws, when they place put aside as the game control areas, but human activity will be prohibited to the extent that we can't go and graze or kulima or kuweka anything there. So hiyo ndio challenges ambazo tunapitia, kwamba migongano ya kisheria inatuletea sisi hizo shida. And another thing ambayo nimesema, mwingiliano wa kisheria, maeneo ya wafugaji kupandishwa hadhi. Recently last year tulikuwa na kitu kikubwa sana, kwamba the government was trying to upgrading the whole of the Masai area to be the game controlling area. And this tayari sheria imeundwa prohibiting the human activities which will to be undergoing in the GCI's areas. So hiyo. The last one is the question say how the community did initiative to contribute to advancing the balance of the both the land tenure right and environmental justice. Sisi kama UCRT tunawezesha jamii sana sana wafugaji na wakuta matunda through the land use planning, and after that they demarcate the area that are used by the communal one, and have the CCROs for their areas. Hii inawasaidia for the purpose of the conservation, lakini itawasaidia kuwa na right kwamba whether the government try baadaye kubadilisha matumizi, so they can't, because tayari imeshakuwa demarcated na they have the certificate, and we go ahead zaidi be gazetted to the government notice that this area is for the pastoralists au kwa jamii fulani. And we did this for the Hadzabe community and the Masai that are residing in the northern Tanzania. Asante sana.
Thank you very much for that. I think what you've just highlighted, which is critical, and maybe most of the governments represented here in terms of communities is working, representative from different countries. There are laws that are often not harmonized.
Yes.
And because of lack of harmonization, there'll always be conflict between the application and how those laws are applied. And I think that is what probably you have been able to highlight. The other thing that probably also that I would want to give more depth is the issue of land use planning. That if we have very good land use plans, then you have better ability to use the land and be able to use it to advance either environmental but also rights of the communities over land. And you've talked about the CCROs, where these are community certificates of customary right of occupancy versus areas that are either zoned for environmental or conservation and so forth. But then the conflict between the law puts the communities, in conflict with its own government laws and directives. So I think that's the experience that we have from Tanzania. I would want to turn to Ethiopia and give it to Teresa. Tezera, sorry, Tezera, to be able to share with us about how 10-year security in Ethiopia advances the opportunities to pursue environmental justice and rights to land.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Tazara Gitawan. I am the Executive Director of Pastoralist Forum Ethiopia, a civil society organization. It's a consortium of civil society organization working on pastoralism. On top of that, I'm a student, also a PhD candidate. Just let me tell you a secret today, which I have never revealed. I've been here in November 2003. I visited ECLO in 2003 with my organization founding members, and they assigned me as executive director here in ECLO, so that I became director of the organization in 2003 from ECLO. So that today, in November 2024, I'm just doing this panel, so that it is really interesting. In our case, Ethiopia, you know that we do have different groups of pastoralists. All the lowlands belongs to the pastoral community. We do have borders also with Kenya, with Sudan, Djibouti, all the lowlands belongs to the pastoralists. But it is a constitutional right that the protection comes from our constitution, which was enacted 30 years ago. In constitution, the land belongs to the nation, nationalities, and the peoples. It is aggregate rights given to the nation, nationalities, and peoples. There are special provisions regarding pastoralism, especially 2-3 provisions directed to the pastoral communities. It says that the land of pastoralists are protected. They are not evicted without their consent. But this is in the constitution. And even the livelihoods are secure. You can be a pastoralist or farmers, you can be teachers, the occupation, the livelihood is already secured constitutionally. There are also subsequent laws. We had land laws enacted in 2007, but now it is totally changed after 18 years. That gives a very good room for the pastoralist community. The new law in 2023, enacted, that is the National Rural Land Administration and the Plan, secures the pastoralist rights. That means the pastoralist land is not taken by investors. It's boldly written like that. Previously, the investors can deal with the local chiefs so that, vast land of prime land can be taken. And there was a lot of conflict, especially from the southern nationalities in Afar. The Somalis are a little bit protected. Actually, they have never tested such land grabbing. But now it is only 1 year. We have to see the consequence, if that's really going to happen. Also, we are expecting specialized institutions who are administering or just regulating this new law. That's in terms of the community rights. The community, they do have their own right-based, exercising rights through their local institutions. As you know, the Boran, which is very close to the Kenya, they do have their own Gada system. That means the land is protected according to the ecosystem. But when you go to Afar, it is administration. It's clan-based, so that we don't have as such a unified type of traditional land management. The other one is how conflict is mediating conflict in local basis by the local government and local institution managed by local government and the local institution. But if it is across the regions, the regional governments are intervening so that they can settle rampant conflicts. The balance between development and investment is what we are expecting from the new law, because the new law boldly said that the land of pastoralists are not going to be redistributed and also given directly to the investors. So that, that the guidelines and all the subsequent laws may define how we are going to tackle. Otherwise, we do have a lot of problem, even in compensation. Rangeland compensation is a bit difficult. We do have law about rangeland compensation, but it shouldn't be taken as a crop land, because that's a perennial, it is long, and the pricing is still, we don't have pastoral-friendly compensation act, so that, the new law, which is now enacted just a year ago, may have a different provisions that protect better the rights of pastoralists. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Desera, for highlighting the laws and how progressive they are, but also progressive in the sense that they're also filling the gaps that have also been identified. And I know most of our countries, the governments are trying their best to be able to enact laws. Some probably, as we are saying, listening to Tanzania, probably against what you've said, is that they are progressive, but at times they are not harmonized, and therefore leaving the communities, when it comes to their application, find themselves there in conflict with a new law that has been enacted when the other one has not either been repealed or has not necessarily been harmonized. But I think what we are also hearing from you is that if there are also very good mechanisms to address conflict that arises, I think makes it possible for the communities to really manage their disputes in a more progressive way. If that does not happen, then you create problems. But what also is interesting, therefore, is how do the private sector find incentive to be able to work in those communities? Because you're saying, if I heard you correctly, that these laws are progressive, but I think they fully define that this land should not be taken by private investors. But I suppose there should be a mechanism for which these communities probably would also find reason to engage with the private sector. So I don't know whether you can just take a minute to highlight that before to go to the next panel.
That's possible. Investment, mostly it is by government, the investment. Just there are in pocket areas that the private sector is investing in the pastoralist land. Otherwise, in pocket areas, also the pastoralist elites are investors, so that they are using their own community for that particular investment, so that they are a little bit in agreement than in conflict. So, just people are not, people coming from outside are not directly investing in that specific area, so that the local elites is still attached with the community, they can resolve in their own mechanisms. Otherwise, the NGOs, the contribution NGOs is really amazing. They are also working on this conflict management, actually, by organizing venues like this, which is impacted doing very, very great job. So that we do have also Ethiopian pastoralists, they might have heard, so that the communities negotiate and just they have the common, that's a common platform, pastoralists, so that they discuss, and there is a resolution, the government and the other actors, they can pick those resolutions and make a mechanism how they are going to settle any conflict in among the community. The other the government is doing is administrative correctedness. Sometimes they put, now in Borana, we had like 6 counties in your equivalent, just we call it waradas, but now it is increasing to 13 because, they are separating if their people are conflicting over natural resources, so that they give different districts, they are assigning the local people, try to manage in that way. So the private sector is not as such going down to the pastoral area and make big investment, except the local elites. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think what, and maybe this is a question for all of us, is how do we ensure those rights are secured, but we still create an enabling environment for investment, both with the local elites, but also for other potential investors? And I think that's the biggest question in the room, which we appreciate already the experiences you have, which sound to be very progressive. But then are they limiting to some extent? Are they, working to the best? And as you're saying, some are new laws, and maybe they are yet to be fully tested in terms of how they're applied and the success stories. But let's stop it there for now and allow our next panelist from DRC to be able to share his experiences. So from DRC, I know you have very progressive laws also for the Pygmy communities and view of land rights. So what has been the experience so far, and how is this advancing your rights for indigenous pygmy communities, but also environmental justice?
Nitazungumza kwa Kiswahili tafadhali.
Sawa, hamna shida.
Mimi ni Venom, ni program manager wa organization inaitwa DP. Kuhusu DRC, nitafanya kahistoria kadogo, kafupi sana. Kwanza, indigenous people, tuna huko kwetu wanaitwa Wambuti. Wakati nitarudilia hiyo masemi yangu, msiwe mbali na mimi, sivyo? Kwa historia, tokea DRC ijipe uhuru wake kwa mwaka wa 1916 hadi miaka iliyopita, Wambuti walisumbuliwa vikali sana na walionwa kama vile wanyama ambao hawastahili kuishi. Kwa nini? Kuna kipengele ambacho kinapatikana katika sheria, kilipatikana katika constitution ya Kongo, kipengele ambacho kinaitwa sheria Bakajika. Kinasema nini? Kinasema kwamba ardhi na mambo yaliyomo yote ni ya serikali. Na kwa hiyo iliwapa wanasiasa walio wengi sana kugandamiza zaidi na zaidi Wambuti. Sababu ya nini? Kwa sababu haikuwaruhusu wamiliki udongo. Na kwa kuwa haikuwawezesha wamiliki udongo, ni kwa maana wale ambao wanamiliki au walimiliki udongo katika nchi ya Kongo tokea wakati huo ni wale wenye kuwa na pesa nyingi sana. Sasa Wambuti ambao hawana pesa, hawana uwezo, walionekana wanagandamizwa sana sana. Tukitokeza mfano kidogo, kuna mbuga ya wanyama inayoitwa Kahuzi-Biega. Ni humo walikuwa wanakaa Wambuti ku sehemu ya Sud Kivu. Wakati ilifanywa kuwa mbuga ya wanyama, walifukuzwa kama vile wanyama bila kuwapa kitu hata kimoja, hawana nafasi, wanazurura huku na huku katika nchi, hakuna mwenye aliweza kuwajali. Lakini changamoto zilizidi, walio wengi walifanya utetezi, hata serikali zote ambazo zilipita tokea mwaka wa 1916 haikuweza kuwafikiria hata kidogo au kutokeza sheria ambayo ingeweza kuwawezesha kumiliki udongo. Jambo la kufurahisha ni kwamba kuna karibuni miaka 3 hapa, rais wa nchi alisaini sheria ambayo inaruhusu wananchi waweze kumiliki udongo. Sheria ilikuwa tokea awali, lakini nani angeweza kuisindikiza? Advocacy nyingi zilizofanyika ndizo zilifanyisha sheria hiyo iweze kusainiwa na mheshimiwa rais wa nchi. Kwa sasa Wambuti nao wanaweza kumiliki udongo sawa na wakaaji wengine. Na kuhusu haki, kupitia hiyo kusaini sheria, nchi, serikali iliambiwa wale Wambuti ambao walifukuziwa katika mbuga ya wanyama, nchi inalazimika kuwarudishia mali au kuwanunulia udongo ambao watakaa ndani. Sababu ya nini? Sababu sheria imeshawekwa. Sasa changamoto ni nini kwa wakati wetu wa leo? Sisi kama DP, kile ambacho tunafanya ni sensibilization, advocacy. Kwa nini? Kwa sababu wale ambao wanaweza kufaidika na ile sheria hawaijui. Wengi wao hawakwenda shuleni, na hata ingawa wangeenda shuleni, sheria hiyo haiandikwi katika lugha ambayo wanaweza kuelewa. Kazi tuko tunafanya kwa sasa ni kuweza kufanya jitihada sheria hiyo ijulikane na hao ambao wanaweza nao kwa leo kumiliki udongo. Mambo ni mengi sana. DRC ni nchi ya kipekee. Kwa sababu gani ninasema hivyo? Ndugu ambaye atakayenifuata ataeleza hata kama kuhusu carbon tuko nyuma zaidi. Hakuna hata mafasirio wananchi wanayo kuhusu carbon. Kuna entreprise fulani iko kule ku West Mai Ndombe ndo yenyewe na inafanya kazi hiyo, lakini kazi inafanyika wakaaji haufaidiki, na wale Wambuti ambao wanapatikana katika pori hiyo nao pia hawafaidiki. ndugu atakayepita kwa muda itakayofika, na waza atasema mengi zaidi. Nasimamia hapo tafadhali.
Asante sana. So DRC ni nchi ambayo inafahamika na inajulikana ulimwenguni kote, hasa hapa Afrika, kama nchi yenye utajiri mkubwa sana wa kimazingira. Tunafahamu hivyo eh? Yeah, DRC houses the biggest equatorial forest. You know, is actually the continental what is it called? You know, it's the lungs, the breather. Hiyo ndio inapumua Afrika mzima wakati tunaongelea maneno ya mazingira. Na kwa upande wa kuangalia kwa mfano maneno ya Paris Agreement, DRC as a country na utajiri ile mko na nafasi kubwa sana kwa Afrika kwa upande wa nchi kuweza kutetea zile haki za Waafrika na pia kuweza kuona share yenu inaweza kuwa nini. Na hiyo inamaanisha kwamba utajiri mkubwa unaweza patikana kupitia ile rasilimali mko nayo. Lakini kama basi wananchi hamna ufahamu, inakuwa ni changamoto kubwa zaidi. Si kweli? Kwa sababu hata kama utajiri utapatikana, basi utaenda kwa wale wanafahamu ambao watakuwa wao ndio wale gatekeepers. Na je, mtawachwa wapi kama nyinyi ndio stewards wa hizo forest? Nyinyi ndio mnaweza kuziangalia, nyinyi mnaweza pia mnachangia kuzikuza na kuziendeleza. But asante kwa kutupatia experience yenu kutoka DRC. Niruhusu niende kwa our last speaker. This will be Setek Frank from Nkishon CBO and Kiroriti Community Land Representative. Atatuelezea naye kulingana na haya tumezungumzia, what exactly is happening there, what are the opportunities around land rights and environmental justice. Kwa kifupi, alafu tuweze kuendelea, tuweze open up for a conversation. Karibu.
Thank you so much. My name is Setek Frank Benson from Nkiloriti. I am working in Kishon community-based organization there at home, Nkiloriti. I am a community representative here. In Kishon community organization, based organization was formed last year at around mid of last year, and our aim was just to advocate for the rights of the community, the indigenous communities that are living there in Kiloriti, after we realized that the community are not aware of what is going on, and the investors there back at home taking advantage of the illiterate community to oppress them when it comes to investors agreement. So we came up as community elites, a group of almost 10, but now we have registered members of 121. Currently, we are doing a great work back there to educate our peoples on their land rights. So let me just go directly to the questions that I was supposed to answer. And number one was, how has Kenyan community land legislation influenced the protection of indigenous land rights and environment justice? That one question. Okay. Kenyan Community Land Act of 2016 has helped in protection of indigenous land rights and environmental justice in several ways. One is legal rights. Community Land Act gives indigenous and rural communities the legal rights to own the land they live on, use for their culture and for their livelihood. Two, the Community Land Act provides for the process of community registration and govern. This is whereby the community have the right to elect their committees and determine their land claims. Three, community ownership. Community Land Act of 2016 allows communities to acquire collective title deeds to their land, and given how land is used and who has the right. Also, on customary rights, Community Community Land Act of 2016 recognizes customary land rights, which are rights derived from African customary law and practices. Community decision making. Community Land Act 2016 gives the community the power to make decisions about their land and how they use. Another thing is inclusivity in governance. The Community Land Act requires inclusivity and equitable governance of property, which is well suited to social cultural norms of indigenous and forest communities. Community Land Act is based on Article 63 of the Kenyan Constitution, which requires the Parliament to enact the legislations to provide the rights of the community members. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your reflection about the power that the Community Land Act of 2016 gave to the communities, both from a governance point of view, but abilities also to enjoy those rights that are protected and are enshrined within the law. So thank you for your experience for that. So our last speaker here is a representative from the community or development partners. And often development partners support different initiatives around land rights and environmental justice. The question for our panelist here, Dr. Robert from TCF, is what really informs your decision to support these efforts, and what have been your experiences when you have been able to provide this kind of support to communities, both from civil society organizations as well as communities that are affected in one way or another.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Hassan Roba. I work for the Christensen Fund. It's a private foundation based in the US, supporting global indigenous people's rights and movements towards self-determination. We work in many countries, but in East Africa, I am the director for strategy based in Kenya. To the question, what really informs our intervention? What I can say is that our funding, I think mostly also for most donors, is funded by demand. For example, you have heard from different members of panelists here that countries in East Africa are at different levels of actualizing tenure right and tenure security. Ranging from DRC to Kenya. Kenya is slightly ahead of most of our partners in the region. But even in Kenya, we are still not very much out of the woods. We have good laws, good policies, and we have issues. Based on this, communities have identified land right as a central to their self-determination as a people, for their livelihood, for their existence, for their survival. They have felt that land issues must be addressed. As most of you who are Kenyans know, we have our own history about land and land right. And we have different commissions about land. Our land issues have not been completely resolved. And now, going back to the earlier, of course, keynote speeches, the land in Kenya, 80% of Kenyan land is arid and semi-arid land. We have 20% that is arable or what you call agricultural land. Because of this population growth over the years, the land now in question is the land in arid and semi-arid land, 80%. Where, as the PS said, we have around 18 million people that depend on that land. This land is now becoming under pressure, be it from big projects like LAPSET, investments, wind power, many things are also coming to this land. And there are a lot of also issues about land grabs. This community, therefore, feels more than any other time in history, their land is under pressure. And if you're under pressure, you must act. So we have laws. Should they worry if they are laws? Unfortunately, although Kenya has very good laws, we have not allocated enough resources for this land laws to be implemented. So communities are left with very good laws, but no action in terms of implementation and actualizing the gains in the law. That's where we come in now. That's where we get the plea and the asking from the community. We have laws. The wind is blowing in our direction once more. How do we take advantage of that new law? How do we make sure that we have our land secured? Of course, Most of us also don't believe that land registration is end in itself. There are also more things to talk about that. What about post-registration? What happens once the land is registered? We also have cases of land being registered in Kajiado and group ranches that actually has gone out to individual location. So land registration may actually not be a panacea for solving land issues, but at least a step towards good direction. So when you get this demand from the communities, now that most development in the past about livelihood, food, security, those basic things, but now people ask me some very sentimental, very important issues about land, and that's where you get the demand and the asking, and that's what we support. And I think that's the case for most of the donors here. For the Christian State Fund, for the last 10 years, we have supported land rights issues. Specifically now, for the last 5 years, we have been supporting communities about Community Land Act. We support work in Kenya. We have over 2 partners in Tanzania, in Uganda, including UCRT. I even didn't know him, but he's our partner. Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, now totaling about 2 partners. We have, for the last 10 years, supporting almost to the tune of 2 million USD per year, supporting community land rights in this region. What is our challenge? What's our problem? We are frustrated somehow that the amount of resource we give is not commensurate with the progress that we are making. The law is there, but things are not moving. We just heard about Kenya Land Commission having a project last year. I was in the launch where they said only 16% of land that needs to be registered is registered. What's happening? The Community Land Act has been there since 2016, but not many land getting registered. Actually, the land we said has been registered is the conversion of the group ranches to community land. This is a very simple process. The land is already known with the owners, just send the title. What happened with the trust land, where there are more controversies? The problem is now more compounded with carbon issues, where now there are more players, actors, brokers, and other players. So this is our problem now. There are many actors, but the communities really are getting problem in terms of their voices and being supported. So that's where we come in, and our challenge is a slow process. And I should take this chance to ask the government representative here, the PSC here, the National Land Commission is there. How do you make this fast tracked so that we have enough land registered for the community, so that at least we take advantage of the new law to have community tenure right protected? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Indeed, the development partners, donor representative in the room, we want to acknowledge your support. I know this support is extremely important and complementary to the government effort in making these rights be enjoyed and realized for our indigenous pastoralist communities in Kenya, but also across the region. And we cannot really downplay that effort in terms of how complementary and how supportive it is in advancing these rights. So thank you, Dr. Roba, for this intervention. I think your speech also, or your intervention, has brought out the issue of how much should we put in and how much do we expect as a return on investment. And at times, I know investment on the land governance issues, whether it's in policy reforms or other related work, it's difficult to put it on return on investment and be able to make a case. But we also know how important land rights are to advance community empowerment in a number of spheres, be it education, be it economics, be it social development. So we thank you for that, and you are a big contribution to advancing our social and economic as well as environmental development agendas. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the panel that we've had. I would like to open it up for any question from the floor before I zoom back to the government officials here to request that they share their reflection from what you've heard from these panelists, from issues around policy, and maybe not policy alone, may not necessarily be the solution, but it's a progressive way of dealing with the challenges of securing land as well as environmental justice. There are questions about awareness. There are questions about how do we fast track the registration of the community land, particularly in Kenya, following a year or so data that came out from, I think, NLC and Namati that showed, was it 14%? 14% that had been registered. Have these numbers changed so far, or where are we? So those are the questions that are still lingering. So, but let me open it up for any immediate observation, reflection from the floor before I request the reflection from our government representative here. Yes, sir. There's someone right at the door. If someone can pass the mic. Any other from this side? I can see a hand at the back. That's another number 2. You'll be number 2, sir, standing over there. I would like to have a lady now. Ladies, there's a lady right at the second row. And one more lady from Turkana, the other side. Is it Turkana? Yes, please. You are number 4. Kindly pass the mic, and there'll be others from that side. So can we have the mic on the other side? Please proceed, sir.
Amjambo. Swali langu kwanza, ningependa kusema asante kwa panelists vile waliongea, wametuweka mwangaza kidogo, na tunasema asanteni panelists. What you presented to us ni mwangaza kwetu. Swali langu linaenda kwa watu wa lands, na swali langu ni hii: sisi ni pastoralists, na map ambayo tunategemea sana kwa wakati tunaongea juu ya registration of land, singine imekuwa repeated, inakuwa duplicated. Unakuta maps sijui from independent imebadilishwa mara kadhaa, na hakuna wakati consultation imefanywa kwa communities hawajakuwa involved. Wale wanafanya kwa ofisi huko juu, IBC wanafanya huko juu, hujui boda yako ni wapi. Alafu sasa hivi when we are doing registration, unaweza kuta jamii ambayo unapakana naye wameregister na pengine wameingia kwenu na tayari wameregister. Wakati unakuja kuregister kwako, tayari unakuta kuna mtu ameingia kitambo mbele yako. How do we make sure that this thing will not create conflict? I'm saying that being the peace chairman in my sub-county, we have to mind about peace. Amani ya watu wetu, indigenous people, is very important, paramount. Na hii mambo ya registration of land inaweza kutuletea ukosefu wa amani. So how can we do registration in a peaceful way and everybody to get his or her right of the land?
Thank you.
Asante.
I would want to reserve that question for the NLC and the ministry.
Thank you.
So kindly, but we've taken note of it. Can we take number 2? There was a gentleman right at the middle. Please proceed.
Hamjambo. My name is Osman Mohamed, and I come from Mujia County. Here I represent an organization called Community Land Action Now Clan. I want to put a question across on behalf of my community who is struggling with land registration. But before I do that, first of all, I must thank Impact and its partners for always organizing such a very vital and important congregation for us, so that at least we can amplify our voices. My first question goes to the NLC. What is the role of NLC in the registration of community lands? The role of NLC in the registration of community lands. My second question goes to the ministry, but it's a question concerning the challenges the northern counties, mostly the trust land counties, are facing in the registration of our community lands. And that is the biggest impediment or challenge the northern counties are facing, is the goodwill from the county governments. And I was expecting a representative from the Council of Governors or the county governments to be here so that at least we could put more challenges. But my question is, what can we do better by the national government so that counties bring on board the communities who want to register their trust lands? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We had a hand somewhere at the corner there. Did I pick someone there? Maybe not. Yes, just pass the mic to the gentleman there. And then we have two ladies, one here and the other on the other side.
Asante.
So you'll have to hold a bit. Yes.
Asante sana. Mimi kwa majina naitwa Ratino Ishwel. Nimetoka Laikipia, chairman wa Mayanat community. Na swali langu ni kuhusu huyu ndugu wangu mwenye ametoka Tanzania. Nyinyi mkiwa wana Tanzania mko na fikra ya kupata sheti ama kuimiliki ardhi bila kuwa ni kama mnaishikilia tu mkiwa hamna nguvu, serikali ndiye wako na nguvu. Jambo lingine ni nimesikia ya kwamba umetaja tena Hadzabe tribe wenye wanajipatia lishe kutoka kwa misitu na wanyamapori. Na wanyamapori na misitu pia ni kama mali ya serikali ama rasilimali ya serikali. Wako na haki ya kujitafutia lishe ama wawe huru kujilisha kwa hizo misitu na wanyamapori. Pia nimesikia ya kwamba hukutaja wakulima, na pengine mko tu na wakulima. Wakulima wako na haki kuliko zile kabila mbili yenye umetaja, wafugaji na hawa gatherers. Asante.
Thank you very much. We have the two ladies. Please, if you could pass the mic to them. Wengine mtanipa muda kidogo tu nichukue hayo maswali kwanza, kwa sababu najua pengine watakapojibu huenda ikajibu swali lako. So don't worry, tutaona kama tutarudi kipindi kijacho. So pass the mic and then the other mic to the lady at the back.
Okay, thanks a lot. My name is Agnes Koilel. I'm from Nakuru County, or Karia, and I'm here on behalf of the Clan Community Land Action Now. I'm so grateful to Impact for bringing us here, and kindly just expand your hand by going to other communities which are facing the community lands problem. I just have a question, and my question just goes to the PS of the State of the Department for the ASOL and Regional Development. Okay, I'm just from a county whereby we are just there by the grace of God, whereby we don't even have any representative, even to an extent of having a chief. So any communication that is passed by the government, we are not getting because we don't get the information. How is that one going to help our communities to be recognized? Because in Nakuru County, we have the governors, we have the senators, we have all the leaders, but the Maasai do not have any leadership position. We do not get any information from the government. We're just learning about the carbon credit market now. We've been facing a lot of problems due to the thermal. It has been a burden to us. Something else is now coming to us. And for our cases, many things are done in big hotels. Most of our people are illiterate. Where are we going to get this information? Investors are coming to the ground, doing everything. The Maasai or our members are just seated there, and you'll always realize that something has been happening when you are told to move and give away the land. So my questions goes to the government, and especially to reach the President of Kenya, because now we have some of the stakeholders from the government. Can you kindly just ask them to come to our country and actually know what is going on there? Because we don't have any information. Carbon credit is coming there, and we just know because of the thermal activities that has been taking place, that the same cases will just be going on. So I'm just kindly requesting the investors, whenever there's some of the things that will be happening on the ground, can you come to the ground and meet the communities? That is the only way that we will not be fighting, because Kenya, without peace, there is a lot of problem. But when we work together, involving our communities, there'll be no problem. We don't hate the investors. We like our country to also be like other countries. But the locals, the community members, we also wish to be known that we are also there and we are present. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mwinue sauti jamani, mbona tumekuwa wanyonge? Si tumekuja kusoma. Habari zenu? Mimi nimetoka mbali kilomita 703 na nyinyi mmechoka karibu. Nina lengo moja tu ya kusema. Mimi natoka Turkana South na represent Turkana community as the chair lady newly elect. Katika wakati tulianza, yangu inaenda kwa NLC. Nashukuru ya kwanza gavana yangu Lomorkai alikubali sisi tusajili ardhi. Na tukapitisha, ilikuwa 66 na 63 ikaenda ikakuwa sawa sawa. Nikisimama mbele yenu 16 tulipata cheti ya registration. Na majaliwa Mungu tarehe 3 mwezi wa 12 tutapata title deed na italonchiwa Turkana County. Karibuni. Moja inaenda kwa watu ya ardhi, watu wa lands. tafadhali sisi watu wa pastoralist tunaomba, ni nini kigumu inayesukuma registration yetu nyuma miaka nenda rudi? Ama kuna kitu inaitwa hide and seek? Najua serikali inafanya finya kwanza, tuangalie hii, tuangalie. Ukiona hakuna ugumu. Kwa hivyo, Madam MC, tunauliza serikali, tunapeana hiyo swali kwa states. Upelekea hata Rais Ruto ya kuwa kwamba wa pastoralist wanataka kujua boundaries. Kenya unatumaliza ni boundaries. Opokot tunabodana nao, Samburu tunabodana mahali, Sudan tunabodana. Lakini wanyama inaingia kwa wengine inakuwa ni msoso na kupoteza maisha. Hiyo ni haki serikali yetu tuangalie. Ya pili, mambo ya carbon. Carbon it is a newly lesson learned today, especially for my people in Turkana. Ukikuja uniambia ati kuna kitu hewani na sioni, unajua nitakuuliza maswali, wewe unataka kufuruta Mungu chini ama kuna shida? Ni ukweli. Hiyo si ukweli. Mtu anakuja kwako anakuambia anataka kilo 1000, kilogramu 1000. Na wewe uoni mahali wapima. So lazima mtueleze, mtufundishe kwa upana. Sisi huko chini mashinani, unanileta mpaka Isiolo. Huko nikienda wanasema ni historia. Naomba mteremshe, mlete impact, mlete washikadau wengine na wafadhili. Njooni kwa grassroots. Msemezane na wachungaji. Tujue njia gani tunaelekea. Hakika ukiniambia juu ya carbon, I don't understand it. Maybe I will understand because I've gone to school. What about my people?
Correct.
Kindly come home, madam. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So allow us to respond to those questions. I know some were directed to our government officials that will give them the chance to also respond. But for the panelists here, pengine kulikuwa na maswali ya Tanzania ambayo pengine ungependa kurespond. Na kwa sababu ya muda ndio tuwapatie government officials nafasi ya kurespond, pengine tukupatie hiyo nafasi ujibu, alafu tuone how we will change the panel.
Asante sana. Asante sana. Kujaribu kujibu maswali ya ndugu yangu pale ambaye ameuliza kuhusu umiliki wa ardhi Tanzania. Akiangazia kwamba mnasikiaga kwamba rais ndio mwenye miliki ardhi, sisi tuko tu kama wakodishaji. Sio kweli. Iko hivi, kila raia Tanzania ana haki na wajibu wa kumiliki ardhi. Rais ni trustee, yani amepewa kama yeye msimamizi mkuu kwa kuangalia kwa niaba ya watu wengine. Kipindi Nyerere alianzisha ile, alijua watatokea wakora ambao wanaweza kunyanyasa wananchi wa hali ya chini wa maskini. Kwa akabakiza ile mamlaka kwamba iko juu ya rais ili aweze kulinda wale watu wa hali ya chini wasije wakanyanyasika kwa watu kwa kuja kuwadanganyia pesa nyingi. Kwa hiyo rais ni msimamizi mkuu kweli, lakini sio kwamba waraia hawana haki ya kumiliki. Wanayo. That's why wanakupa title deed ya wewe kuonyesha kwamba hii ni mali yako, ni ardhi yako, na una haki ya kulitumia, kuweka rehani. Rehani ni bonde, kuuza na kutoa kama zawadi ukitaka kwa ndugu, kwa rafiki, ukiamua, kwa sababu ni mali yako. So kama unaona mtu anataka kukupa zawadi ya simu, ni mali yake. Hata ardhi sisi unaweza katoa kama mali, kama zawadi kwa ndugu au rafiki ambao amekufurahisha. Kwa hiyo ni mali. Sawa, lingine kwa Hadzabe. Hadzabe ni kweli wanaishi porini na wanategemea wanyama pori kama chakula kwa kuwinda. Uwindaji Tanzania ni haramu. Is illegal. Illegal, ukipatikana umewinda ni kosa na utafungwa. Lakini for the sake of the Hadzabe people ambaye they depend the wildlife as a means of food, wao wamepewa exception. Wao wanaruhusiwa kuwinda kwa chakula, lakini sio kwenda kuchukua nyama na kuuza. Akipatikana anauza mjini, anakamatwa, anafungwa. Akipatikana amewinda, anakula free bila shida. Kwa anaruhusiwa kuwinda kwa chakula, lakini sio kwa mambo mengine kama ya biashara. Awinde ale, na ndio anachokifanya. Anawinda, wanahamia mahali, wanakula, ikiisha wanawinda mwingine, hivyo hivyo. So hiyo iko hivyo kwa WhatsApp. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I would want to give just a for each of the panelists here to conclude before I allow the responses we have from the government officials. So please, I start with you.
Thank you. I think the question from the floor also reinforces our concern about the slow pace of registration. I think it's good that the government officials are here. I'm really looking forward to listening from them on their response. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon again. In my view, this is a very healthy discussion. Very healthy in the sense that we are dealing with new constructs. We have a construct called climate change. Now, here comes another one that is much more a mystery called carbon credit. And most of us are illiterate about this. This is a discourse that all of us need to take home, discuss it at a county level, discuss it at the ministry level, because I think my history has taught me this. This business of people sitting up there in Kwamagorofa, Nairobi, ama Ulaya, New York na Geneva, na kuanza kuteremshia mawe ambazo itatuangusha sisi watu asilia, itatuletea taabu. Na tayari tuko taabani. Kuna wenzetu kule mashinani wanatuuza. Kwa hiyo vile mama nilishukuru sana aliposema mnauza hewa. Na ni kweli, kaboni inatoka wapi bwana? Hatuelewi. So ina serikali, washikadau wanafaa kuchukua muda, kurudi nyuma kidogo, waanze kutufundisha climate change ni mnyama gani. Ndio kisha sasa waje kwa carbon credit ambayo ndio biashara kuu ulimwenguni kwa sasa. Kulingana na taarifa tunazosoma, that is the in thing now. Because a lot of us do not know it. Brokers ni wengi. Asante.
Thank you. Mine is about, I just want to wind up by the issue of carbon. And I want to ask our partners, the NGOs and the government, as we do the carbon awareness, because it is something new, kindly let us do it at the grassroots. Let us engage the grassroots members of the communities, kwa sababu huenda yale ambayo yanafanyika katika mahoteli kubwa kubwa hayafiki kule mashinani. Kwa hivyo ningeomba hii trainings tuwe tukifanya kule kwa mti ambayo kila mtu anaweza hudhuria, kwa sababu carbon hatuelewi, na hii carbon imeleta vita mingi kule. So as we start this journey, mimi ningeomba tuanzie kule at the grassroots level. On the issue of land, let me just say that our land is more valuable than money. It will last forever. It will never even perish by fire. So let us take good care of our lands. Let us ensure that we will live we will live our lands better than we found it as leaders. And to those community leaders and representatives who usually get this opportunity to come here and attend workshops, those leaders who have their communities at heart, kindly let us walk the walk, not just talk the talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend. You just mentioned what I would like to say. When you are talking about land, you know, there is a pastoralist saying, land belongs to the dead, the alive, and the unborn. So that land is not a cheap commodity. So the pastoralists shouldn't sell their resources and buy poverty. So we need to take care when we are engaging in investment. We are not enemy of investment. There are a lot of local investors and the government and the private sectors, but they shouldn't sell their resources and buy poverty. Thank you very much.
Tunashukuru sana kwa kutupa nafasi, na zaidi sana kwenye programu yetu tuliona kuna nafasi ambapo hewa kaa itazungumziwa vya kutosha. Ni hapo ndipo tutafanya pendekezo. Kwa sababu hiyo kwa sasa nimemaliza. Asante.
Asanteni sana. So let's give a hand to our panelists for work well done. We will request the government officials from the Ministry of Lands, from NLC, the State Department for ASAL through the PS, watatake the floor hapa. Kuna maswali ambayo yameulizwa kwenu directly. And before we allow you to respond, I think there will be 1 or 2 more questions coming from the floor that is dedicated to you as a team. And therefore, wacha niwaruhusu our panelists, please. Thank you very much for your contribution. Kindly take your seats, and then we can allow others to occupy the seats up here. And this will be the government representative. Kindly, the government officials, naomba mkuje hapa mbele. Wakati ni wenu, ndio tuweze kuwasikiliza pia upande wenu. So, Bwana PS naona kama ametoka, sijajua kama Maria, you would want to take the floor. Our deputy NLC, would you kindly come over? For ministry, our representative of the CS, kindly we could also take the seat. County government, kulikuwa na, najua kuna another session ambayo itakuwa na county government official, but ningetaka tumulike, kulikuwa na county government representative wa Samburu, sijajua kama Isiolo tuko na county rep. Kuna swali hapa ya what is making things not move. County government, ni kujibu tu swali kulingana na reality, sio kumulika kwa ubaya. Tunataka tusaidiane tu kuelewa. County representative, tunaweza kupata mmoja? Okay. So thank you so much for availing yourself to respond to these questions. But before we give you the opportunity, allow me to take the question. You had a question, gentlemen. And I think, let me see who else. Idadi iko kubwa. Wacha tuchukue kwanza ya kwako, alafu tutakuja kwako na kwa huyu ndugu. Wale wako na mic, please be on standby.
Kwa majina ninaitwa Ambrose Apayo. Ninatoka hapa Ngaremara katika jamii ya Waturkana. Kuna dada yetu nimeona mahali hapa, nikaona kuna swali ambayo huwa inasumbua jamii ya Ngaremara pale, na nikaona wacha tu niulize siku ya leo. Na ni Madam Tia, ni msichana wetu, alikuwa upande wa siasa, sasa hapo kwa upande ya kuangalia mambo ya ardhi. Swali langu Madam Tia ni kuhusu mambo ya go to community land. Wakati kulikuwa na msoso kati ya watu wa Gotu na Ngaremara, tulistukia kwa magazeti, kwa mapage ya kwamba Gotu imekuwa gazetted, yani kwa gazette notice ya kwamba sasa imehamishwa, imepelekwa upande ya Chari, imepelekwa upande ya Karibu. Na Gotu iko upande ya Ngaremara, Isiolo North, yani wadi ya Ngaremara. Losungi anasimamia hapo. Sasa sisi jamii ya Waturkana tukasema, iko mahali inafikanga viongozi wanaanza kutupiganisha, wanahamisha kwa kipande ya ardhi, yani wakapeleka upande ya Chari kwa minajili tu ya kutaka kugonganisha jamii. So na ile akili ndogo tuko nayo ni tume tu ya uchaguzi ndio inaweza kubadilisha boundaries. Sasa sijui ni watu gani hawa juisi walifanya. Kwa hivyo wakati baadaye utasimama Madam Tia, mtatuambia Gotu ilihamishwa namna gani, ikasemekana imeenda upande ya Chari na ni sehemu ya Ngaramara. So sisi tuliona hiyo, hatutaki kugonganisha tena. Asante.
Tosha kabisa. Tosha kabisa hiyo swali. Hiyo swali imetosha. Tulikuwa na someone else pale nyuma?
Yeah.
Yes, lekani number huyo umechukua mic number, wacha afanye number 1 alafu kuje number 2. Then tutarudi upande huu. Proceed na weke swali lako kwa kifupi please kwa sababu ya
sawa. Iko fupi. Mimi kwa majina naitwa Levertingat Paul, Samburu County, Samburu East. Niko na swali kwa representative ya CS ya land. Nilikuwa nauliza title community inachukua muda kiasi gani ili community iweze kupata, community ambayo imemaliza registration process yake yote. Nasema hivi kwa sababu tulianza process ya registration karibu 2017, tukakuwa na migogoro kidogo ya boundaries na community. Kufika 2022 tumesikizana, tumemaliza hiyo procedure. Tumeshangaa title imekwamia wapi, na tunasikia tu titles ziko kwa national land huko kwa nini? Kwa Ministry of Land, sijui kwa registrar, sijui kwa minister. Na unajua sisi pastoralists tunategemea
sema pia ni community gani ndio aweze kuona kama anaweza.
Hiyo ni Ndonyowasin community.
Which area?
Samburu. Unajua hii parcel of land ilikuwa ni adjudication section moja. Baadaye ikakuja kugauliwa into 4 parcels of lands wakati communities wamesikizana hizo boundaries. So umeshangaa title imekwamia wapi?
Sawa, swali lako limeeleweka.
Ndio ya pili.
Hapana, please tupatie wenzako nafasi. Pengine litaulizwa na mtu mwingine. Next please. Tutarudia round nyingine kama bado itakuwa swali.
Please, my question is about the carbon credit, and I'm glad to hear across all the speakers kwamba the objective is to enhance community bargaining power. And it's very good because from the chair, the vice chair of the Commission of Land Commission, she also expressed it strongly that the community should be given should have the bargaining power over their resources in the land. But here comes now the act, the Carbon Credit Act, which was enhanced au imepitishwa hivi karibuni.
Uliza swali tafadhali.
Now, according to the regulations,
uliza swali lako ni
yeah, this is not the question.
Okay.
According to the regulations, the government has already passed that the community will receive 40% of the revenue accrued from the carbon. Now, where shall we get the bargaining power now, if the government has already ruled, and if the community will feel that is not right for them, how will we go about it? Because the community might not accept the 40% that is dictated by the government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hilo swali litaangaziwa. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And briefly.
Hello. Oh, thank you. I'm Lempira Nicholas from Laikipia. And because the National Land Commission is here, and we are talking about the indigenous land rights, I have a question, especially to the Ministry of Land, and especially on the issue in Laikipia. Is more of, somebody said 75% of the land is occupied by 35 individuals, which is true. And the remaining part of land is more of conservancies in Laikipia. So just to answer the first questions on the issue of counties and the issue of registration from community land, in Laikipia I don't think we have a big issue in that, because most of the land was just transiting from community land into the other one. And it was an easy process. I don't think the county government brought any issue with the communities transiting to the new form. And now my question is, in Laikipia we have a lot of holding grounds, we have a lot of stock roads, we have a lot of land that was set aside for veterinary purposes, and we are seeing an issue of grabbing, or people trying to grab this land. What measures is the National Land Commission putting in place to make sure that this land that was set purposely for pastoral community is not, or has not been translated into individual use? And then two, just the other day, the president was in Pejeta, and a lot of people were saying we had more land to Pejeta that already had more than 90 acres to take them down, that is being occupied by the pastoral community. Because you are here, and we did not get time to pass the message, we want you to take the president and tell him pastoralism is also a form of income to the government, and also a source of livelihood to the people who live there, just the same way as keeping rhinos and keeping elephants in that land. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether we had someone from this side. Oh, you're there? Okay. Yes, please. Be brief so that we can maximize the opportunity to receive the responses.
Thank you. My name is Paul Chepsoi, Chairman Clock. My questions directly to National Land Commission. Initially, the intentions of National Land Policy 2009 was to help the indigenous communities to fast track or acknowledge the land use from indigenous communities. My first question is the funding model that the NLC has in regards to awareness creation to indigenous communities. Do the National Land Commission has that space? The other thing is about the land registrars. We have noticed that, for example, in northern eastern part of Kenya, we just have one registrar manning almost 3 counties, and that is a major issue that I would like the NLC and the Ministry of Planning. The last question is about now the planning, the ministry concern. We have noticed that as much as we register this community land, there is no a proper planning given to us towards the land use. And this and would like to know what is the ministry, the CS, of course, of land is doing towards helping communities in terms of planning their land use. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There was one more hand. Let me give the mzee ako pale ameinua mkono, and then we will take another round thereafter. Or maybe last would be Madam, nimekuona umeinua mkono. You'll be our last person to give your input. Kwa kifupi, tunaomba kwa sababu ya muda wa kupokea majibu.
Nashukuru kwa kualikwa katika hii kikao, kongamano ambaye ni muhimu sana kwa ufugaji. Kwa majina naitwa Hassan Shano. Nakuja hapa kama representatives Borana Council of Elders. Jambo ambaye liko wakati fulani, kuna sectional paper number 10 ambaye 1965 kilikuwa kilimegandamisha mapato yetu kama wafugaji na asol areas. Na ile mahali ambaye zimewekwa juu kichumi ni wale wanakuwa na chai, kahawa, cash crops kwa jumla. Lakini inaonekana kule mambo yamekuwa saturated. Mahali ambaye zinatakiwa ardhi sasa kutumika ni sehemu za asali. Kwa hivyo, kwa sababu minerals na mambo mingi ziko katika asal areas. Kwa hivyo, tumefikiria kwamba dhulma ya miaka 61 ya kuwekwa pembeni, leo tuko katika mambo za mbele. Lakini hata hivyo ufisadi imetukumba juu ya ardhi, ambaye ni jambo ambaye ni rasilimali ya kipekee ambayo tuko naye. Sasa katika Isiolo, kama bana Harsama amesema, karibu 90% ya game reserves na kuchunga wanyama ni sisi asal areas. Na ardhi, kikao yetu ni kubwa kiasi ya karibu 80% ya ardhi katika. Ikiwa sasa ardhi ni rasilimali za maana, lazima wale wanaishi juu pia lazima wapate haki zao vile inavyotakikana. Angalia, ukame inatupata maka 3, 4 mfululizo. Ng'ombe zetu zilimemalizika na mambo zozote. Ikiwa wale watu wa shamba wa chai, majani na hata miwa, hata wakiwa na deni yao na naachwa na nini, lakini sisi hakuna compensation yote wamefikiria, na ila hali sisi pia tunategea uchumi ya Kenya kwa kiasi fulani tukiwa watu wa ng'ombe. Sasa jambo ambalo nataka kueleza.
Uko na swali tu, kwa sababu umefafanua mambo ambayo ya muhimu sana. Sijajua kama una swali.
Kwa sababu mara nyingine hawezi kupata nafasi. Wacha nizungumze kwa sababu mimi ni mwana harakati mkonge katika hii sehemu na nimepata na mambo. Kwa hivyo maoni yangu kidogo unisikize. Sasa
kwa kifupi tafadhali, bado tuna sehemu zingine za panel tutapata nafasi ya kuzungumza. Kama una swali la moja kwa moja.
Mswali ni hivyo. Cha kwanza, wale watu wa Bonyenye wameanza kuingilia ardhi za wafugaji. Kuna serikali inaendesha mambo inaitwa PPP. Private partnership. Sasa Bisanadi Game Reserve 600 km square ambaye imekaa bila kufanyiwa chambo chochote maka 50. Leo wale watu wanataka kuchukua kwa hiyo nafasi, wale watu wa Nairobi na wale matajiri wanataka kuingia katika hiyo ardhi kwa nje. Jambo la pili ambaye kwa sababu mmeharakisha, nataka nizungumze juu ya barabara ambaye imetoka Isiolo mpaka Mandera. Ni jambo muhimu sana kwa serikali kufikiria, na tumeambiwa kwamba World Bank ndio atafadhili. Sasa kama jambo la hilo ni kupanua kiuchumi, kijamii na hata kisiasa katika sehemu zetu, hiyo barabara ikipatikana, na sisi hatupati faida bali tunapata hasara, wakati manyumba zetu makatano tumeambiwa kwamba itavunjwa na hakuna pesa tumepata, na tumeona kwamba yale tumepata ni pesa ambayo umetuandikia ni duni kabisa.
Asante. Naomba nikukate tu kwa kifupi. Najua swala unalozungumzia ni nzito. Tutakuwa na nafasi nyingine pengine ya kuzungumzia maneno ya benefit sharing na maneno za investment. So
bado tuko mambo mengi ya ardhi ambayo tutazungumzia.
Sina wasiwasi kwamba mambo ni mengi. Madam, ungependa kuzungumza kwa kifupi kabisa? Please. Na utakuwa wa mwisho kwa sasa, then tutawapatia panelists nafasi ya kuzungumza.
My question goes to the government and the stakeholders. There are illegal minings every now and then there in Marsabit. What is the plan of the county government and national government and the stakeholders on those illegal mining? Because we are also told that there are some people who are owning that land, and the community are so much worried because one, the land is not even registered yet. We are dragging behind, especially Marsabit County. Another question is, there is this issue of gums and racing. There are many brokers who are taking advantage of the indigenous communities. They take those gums at a lower price, and the community are really suffering. What is the plan? As the stakeholders, we have to ask ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, najua maswali ni mengi kuliko nafasi. Lakini tunavyoendelea, kwa sababu bado tuna muda, tuna nafasi ya kurejelea some of those questions. So please hold on. The questions might be responded to by our panelists now, or we might get to the next panel na swali lako litajibiwa. So wache tutumie tu muda kwa sasa ili to maximize opportunity to get the responses. Before we get to the panelists, let me make a request. Wacha niombe tafadhali, iwapo yeyote amechukua bag ambaye ni hizi bag tumepewa na watu wa Impact, hizi tumepewa za conference, ambaye iko na vitu vya muhimu sana kwa hawa ambao wanaandika taarifa na hawa wanafanya matangazo yetu, wale wa communication wako pale, chungulia ile bag uko nayo, huenda umechukua bag ambayo ina vitu ambavyo si vyako, tafadhali uipitishe kwa ile timu ambayo wana record pale na kutusaidia kwa upande wa vipasa sauti na communication. Tafadhali kagueni bag zenu, iwapo una bag si yako, chungulia ndani tuisikue kwengine ulibeba the wrong bag. So, thank you very much. My panelists, najua mna maswali ambayo yameulizwa kwenu moja kwa moja. Ningependa kuwapatia chance to respond. Mahali utakuwa umesahau naweza nikaongezea swali kulingana na yale yameshaulizwa. So, I don't know whether I would want to start with you. Madam, would you want to go first?
Maybe we can start with the one of my colleague, Honorable
Madam Tia, would you want to respond to that issue? And sorry, because the swali was dedicated directly to you.
Okay, then I'll do it from here.
Kindly.
Yeah, thank you. I think the question that my brother from Garmara asked is related to a question that was asked by another panelist, another participant, around what is the role of National Land Commission in community registration. So maybe that one will be answered later, but what I want to say is that the commission is supposed to be doing monitoring along other partners on community land registration. We're supposed to be monitoring and doing advisory to government in terms of bottlenecks in community land registration. But unfortunately, what I know is that most of the time when things happen, the National Land Commission is not even aware. So basically, there's this issue of collaboration and co-actioning by national government teams. So it's like most of the time the communities and organizations work alone, and the issues that they're not able to do. But when the one for Garmara, let me specifically address the Garmara issue, we never participated. So I also saw in the papers. So I wouldn't say that I know much about that because, you know, a certain arm of government that is supposed to be monitoring and also helping and in advisory were not included. So maybe I think in this particular meeting, maybe what I would suggest is that we need to collaborate more. I know you are very organized in terms of community and also organization. Ole Kaunga has done a very good job. There are community alliances, and I think Paran and others do organize communities properly. But again, do you have champions in national government? Because sometimes I can come for this meeting, next time somebody else come, so a lot of commitment is not even there. So the new person who comes might not even know what happened on maybe the first summit and all that. So can we also make sure that in the national government, we have a team that will be able to specifically look at the issue of community land registration? And I want to say that our able PS is here. He can organize the national team, the players at national level who have different mandates on community land registration, so that at least we also have a committee where we'll be answerable, we'll be able to push and at least solve some of the key bottlenecks in community land registration. I don't know if I've answered this question.
Thank you. And I think we still have opportunity to have bilaterals probably for any further support required. But I think you've responded to the question to the extent that you've been able to do that. So let me turn to the panelists over here. I don't know who would like to go first. PS, would you like to go first?
Yes.
Kindly.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think it is very encouraging to receive responses from the participants. That shows that there's a lot of interest in what we are doing here. is a very important thing. Nitajibu swali na Kiswahili moja moja kwa sababu nimeona watu wengi wanasikia Kiswahili, si ndio? Ama namna gani? Yeah. So kwanza nitajibu maswali ya hiyo dada yangu ambaye anatoka Olkaria, sehemu za Nakuru. Olkaria ni Naivasha, si ndio? So serikali inatilia maanane hali ama haki ya minority groups ambao wanaishi kwa jamii ambao ni majority. Mimi nilikuwa kwa provincial administration miaka mingi sana, zaidi ya miaka 25, na ninaelewa ya kwamba nyinyi mnafaa kupata chief katika area hiyo ya Olkaria, na ni mzuri tuwasiliane mimi na wewe so that niongee na PS ya Interior, Internal Security, so that muweze kupewa chief katika area hiyo. Na nadhani namba ya Wamasai wale wako hapo ni kubwa, si ndio? Kwa sababu tunapeana administrative unit ikiwa ni population ni karibu 4,000 kwenda juu. Muko zaidi ya hiyo ama namna gani? 4,000, 5,000 hapo. Hiyo itaweza kupatia wewe administrative unit pamoja na mtu ambaye anaweza simamia hiyo jamii, yule anaelewa culture, yule anaelewa environment hiyo, so that aweze kutengeneza usalama katika hiyo area. So lazima ule chief anapewa hapo. Siwezi sema ni kabila, tunasema ile mtu anaelewa culture na environment ya hapo, na lazima hiyo ni Masai, si ndio? Kwa hivyo hiyo itakuwa hivyo. Mambo ya carbon credit nafikiri imeulizwa tena nikiwa hapa, nimesikia. Nadhani Bwana Kaunga, lazima tufanye forums ya kutosha sehemu mbalimbali, na mimi na Maria tutachukua hiyo jukumu. Tutaandika barua kwa PS ya environment atusaidie kuelimisha jamii ya asal counties. Tushikane mimi na wewe na Maria, tuhakikisha kwamba tumepanga mikutano mingi ya kutosha ya kuelimisha watu, kwa sababu lazima watu waelewe hii mambo ya carbon credit, carbon trade. Hata wale watu wamesoma, naona wale wako hapa ni viongozi wengi wa jamii huko sehemu mbalimbali. Nataka kueleza nyinyi hii mambo ya carbon credit, kuna wale watu wako na masters degree hawajui kama nyinyi, hawana habari, hawaelewi kabisa. So sisi yote natakana tufundishwe, si ndio? Sio ati ule mtu hajasoma peke yake. Unajua acha niwachekeshe kidogo. Kuna wakati mtu mwingine alikuwa anafanya kipindi cha prank ya kuchekesha watu. Na alikuwa anauliza watu, anasimama katikati ya jiji la Nairobi, anangojea wale watu wanapita, alafu anauliza tu maswali. Na siku moja niliuliza mwanaume kama ako na placenta. Maria, placenta ni nini kwa Kiswahili? Very good. That is the best way to describe to such a forum, an audience. Ni nyumba ile ya mama ya mtoto. Tunaelewa hiyo? Nyumba ile ya mama ya mtoto inaitwa placenta. So huyu msichana amesimama katikati ya jiji ya Nairobi. Akiona mwanaume anapita, akiona mama anapita, anauliza, "Mzee, habari? Placenta ni nini? Na wewe uko na placenta?" So siku moja akauliza, wazee walipita hapo wengi. Akauliza mzee mmoja, "Habari? Uko na placenta?" Mzee anasema ndio. Sinaona? Na hata ule mtu ambaye anakaa kama amesoma anaulizwa, "Uko na placenta?" Anasema ndio. So hii mambo ya carbon credit Ukisimama katikati ya hii miji yetu ya Isiolo, uulize ile mtu anapita, uulize carbon credit ni nini, mtu anakuambia ni ng'ombe, mwingine anakuambia ni miti, mwingine atakwambia sijui ni aina ya mzungu. Kwa sababu gani? Kwa sababu watu hawajaelewa. So kwa sababu sisi serikali tumeona kuna haja ya kufundisha watu. Mimi mwenyewe at least within ASAL counties nitachukua jukumu la kuhakikisha watu wamefundishwa. Nimesikia mambo ingine ya climate change imeulizwa. Sasa hii hewa imebadilika, hatutapata mvua kama zamani. Tunaelewa ya kwamba unaweza kaa bila mvua karibu miaka 3 ama miaka 5. Kutoka 2020 mpaka 2023 kulikuwa na ukame kali sana, si ndio? Na sisi tulikuwa na shida. Sasa serikali iko na nia ya kubadilisha njia ambayo sisi tunapata mapato. Mbeleni area hii yetu ya ASAL tulikuwa tunategemea ng'ombe. Sasa ukame ikikuja imefagia yote. Si ni kweli? Imefagia yote. Sasa jukumu letu ni kuhakikisha tutafute njia nyingine, mbinu nyingine ya kusurvive. Mbinu ya kwanza tunataka kufanya mbinu 2 kwanza kwa ASAL. Ya kwanza tunataka kuchimbia watu madams katika counties ukame, na tuhakikishe ni maji ya kutosha ya watu kukunywa, na ng'ombe kukunywa, na watu kufanya kilimo ambayo inaitwa dryland agriculture, ya kwamba wewe unapewa mbegu na serikali, maji ni hiyo, alafu sasa mnalima. Sawa sawa? Mnapewa hata subsidized rate, labda kwa bei ndogo, so that hii mambo ya kufuga ng'ombe 100% tupunguze kwa akili, tuzoee pia mambo ya kulima, so that tupate mboga, tupate chakula, tupate mapato kutoka aina mbalimbali. Mfugo nimeeleza nyinyi, tubakishe mfugo kidogo, ile kidogo wakati ya ukame tunatengeneza hiyo mambo ya feedlots, tunanonesha na tunauza. Na ningependa tuelewe kitu moja siku ya leo. Mpangilio wa serikali ya President William Ruto ni kwamba sisi tubadilishe mawazo yetu ile tulikuwa naye ya mifugo ya utajiri. Zamani mtu anakaa anaona utajiri ndio kila kitu. Ukiwa na ng'ombe 400, akili yako inakuwa mzuri, jina yako inarembeshwa, wewe unakuwa number 1 kwa kila kitu. Na hiyo ng'ombe wewe huuzi, una viatu, upeleke watoto shule. Lakini sasa vile tunasema hiyo ng'ombe we want to commercialize. Unaoneshe, uuze, ikuwe pesa. Tunataka wafugaji kama nyinyi muone ng'ombe kama pesa, sio ng'ombe kama ng'ombe. Tunaelewa? Sio ng'ombe kama nini? Muone kama nini? Kama nini? Semeni tena. Kama pesa. So that ukae sambamba na ile mtu wa Nyeri. Ule akiuza ng'ombe moja anapata 1,300. Tunataka hivyo hata sisi. Sawa sawa? Ya mwisho kabisa, huyo madam ameuliza mambo ya gum. Gum ni nini kwa Kiswahili? Godi. Ile miti katika ASAL ambayo ukikata na panga inatoa maji. Inaitwa nini? Kwa Kisamburu inaitwa nini? Ile wamama wanafanya kama marashi. Kwa Kisamburu inaitwa agar. Kwa Kiborana inaitwa nini? Kwa lugha ya Borana ama Oromo inaitwa nini? Inaitwa ames ama inaitwa Dakar. Dakar hiyo. Unyoja akambanga ndani bisanke zayani bisanka na denk ayanakatu. Kundi waltana dek ayinakatu. Akanenu. Dakar hiyo. Dakar. Now, sasa hii miti iko kila pahali, iko sehemu mbalimbali katika Kenya. Sasa organization inaitwa Ewasonyiro imetengeneza factory ya Dakar na hiyo agar katika Wajir town, factory kubwa sana. So hii miti kwa sababu community land haina title ya mwenyewe, hii miti ni ya community. Hakuna mtu inatakana akuja azingiri aseme hii miti yote ni yangu. I think that was a very important question. From nowhere mtu aingie Maralal aone hiyo miti apige chanjo aseme hii miti yote ni yangu. Chair lady, Vice Chair Land Commission atakubaliana na mimi. Hiyo ni mali ya community, na vile tunataka tufanye kama serikali siku hizi, tunataka jamii waunde cooperative societies. Hata kwa mambo ya feedlot tunataka kufanya hivyo. Sasa hiyo miti yote inakuwa ya Manyata ile iko karibu na hapo, itakuwa ya cooperative societies ambaye wanavuna hiyo na kupeleka Wajir kwa ile factory wauzie hapo ikue pesa. Sawa sawa. Chairperson ya Land Commission, endelea kutoka hapo. Sorry. Mtu ofisa ya land.
Nataka nianzie maswali nimeona ni mingi. Nataka nianze na ile ya mtu wa kutoka Samburu. Because hiyo ni specific. Kukwar adjudication section, na nafikiri unajua pali wanaitwa Moru na Akiring, Ndonyo Wasin, Ngare Narok, Ngilai Central na Ngilai West B. Hizo zote nimetaja. County ilikuwa imelete kama inventory ya community land, lakini baada ya some quality checks tukangudua they were declared as adjudication sections, so they will take the route of adjudication, and I'm aware adjudication process inaendelea. Kwa hivyo they are not community lands. Adjudication iko na process zake. Survey ikikwisha, kwa baraza mtangaziwa na kila mtu atajua. So that one I cannot tell you itakwisha lini, because there are layers of tribunals in adjudication, and the time frame yake it depends on the situation on the ground. Maybe you have so many disputes, maybe you have court cases, anything can install it. Kina Kulamawe Ngotu, Isiolo County government forwarded inventory of community land. Actually, we let 5 inventories based on sub-counties. Communities now wakaleta yao. Waso Mborana wakaleta yao. Kina wakaleta yao. Several others. Na tumekuwa na mazungumzo. I know what happened when you saw the Kina Kulamawe Ngotu Ndetha community. Tumepata reactions from leaders, both from Isiolo South and Isiolo North. Na tukaiangalia tukaona what we gazetted wasn't effective. Kina Kulamawe ziko Isiolo South, Ngotu iko Isiolo North. So that one we are consulting. When the CS is back, we shall advise her to gazette that one, because we cannot have community lands traversing those political boundaries, especially when there is no consensus amongst the community. Artisanal mining, we want to address artisanal mining the same way we are addressing carbon trading. These are new businesses that are coming up. Artisanal mining cannot be addressed the same way we address mining per se, where there is a mining act. These are new trade where there is a smaller scale mining. But for the time being, let us refer to the carbon credit law and the mining law. For Northeastern, I know we have one registrar in Garissa who is serving Wajir and Mandera. And the way past that question, I want to ask, how many titles are in Wajir? How many titles are in Mandera? You know, it makes no sense to send an officer there to money less than 50 titles. But all people deserve services. And I know under KISIP, we have urban titling programs. Mandera there is, Wajir there is, Garissa is almost complete. There are 8,000 titles, leases. So once that exercise is complete, and there are sufficient titles for a registrar to man a registry, you'll see one. But not for the two counties. Most likely one based in Wajir, then serving Wajir and Mandera. Now, there was a question that was asked about the slow pace of community land registration. I deliberately wanted to end up with that one. It is not that it is slow, because for the last 2 years, we have gazetted 157 adjudication programs. That is progress. During the same period, we have registered 59 community lands. Jamii ziko na titles sahi, which they can search and transact. We have also registered 78 communities, because we register both the community as a corporate body and then if they identify the land. A community can be registered without the land. Now, challenges. The starting point for community land registration is when the county government, in consultation with the communities, submits the inventory. Without the inventory being submitted to the cabinet secretary, we cannot proceed. And what happened? The counties in northeastern Kenya, including where we are, they submitted the inventories based on constituencies and the others based on sub-counties. Even there is one which submitted a whole county as the inventory. And politely we asked them, can you be realistic? Can you give us units that are manageable? Some took it positively, like Turkana. Turkana, they had presented the whole of the county as one inventory. They revised and they gave us 63 inventories based on the wards, which we processed. And at Turkana, we have communities. Somebody from Turkana talks of 16 titles ready. Based on after revising the inventory and giving us 63, we rolled out comprehensive adjudication programs. In fact, we gave notices of intention to adjudicate community land for 17 communities. It's a matter of time, and then those ones are actualized. Yesterday, Turkana again gave the last bunch of community lands, 94. 94 plus the 63, that tells you the number of inventories we have received from Turkana. Each county is specific. There are some counties we told them, can you look at this inventory and consult the communities? Mandera, they are yet to respond. Garissa, they are yet to respond. And when they don't respond, we don't know what their intentions are. And we don't want to put ourselves on a head-on collision with the county governments, because it's one level of government and another one. A county like Tana River, when we attempted to gazette the inventory, a section of the leadership walikuja wakajaa pale kwa ofisi ya cabinet secretary the cabinet secretary had to gazette the inventory. Once it is, when it was gazetted, it's back to the drawing board. So I cannot give a general, each county is specific, and each community is also specific. Where we have not rolled out programs, there are underlying issues. The Turkana we are talking of 63 plus 94. We also have a complaint from West Pokot. They are telling us what we are calling Turkana. Those are our grazing grounds. So Turkanas have no land there. So, and you know, dealing with the communities is not like dealing with a group of 5 people or 10 people. Because these have identities, you can identify those who are causing chaos and have them locked in. But a community which is not registered, it has no identity. You have to navigate with a lot of sensitivity. So I'm taught to summarize. Another reason why we are slow is the register of members. Communities wanting to retain patriarchal structures when it is against the law. Membership of communities recognize both gender. And where you find a community as a stand, we wouldn't admit women here. You give them time. Negative ethnicity and intra and inter-county border disputes. Those ones are real. Insecurity. That is a perennial challenge. Kainoko and Baringo, Kapese, you know, those are hot spots. And we have the inventories. And you know, you just try to attempt to do something here, you'll be accused of their fightings because of ile kitu relate huko. Court cases. Court cases are also, we have cases where we have been taken to court. A community comes with an order. Court has ordered to register this community. You give them a certificate of registration. But where is the land? The land is contested. When you look at the Community Land Act, the registration required there is a fixed survey. And this part of Kenya, one reason or the other, the cause, continuous operating reference stations, were not extended. They have not been intensified. I know Council of Governors were gifted with a lot of equipment by FAO. The ministry here has those equipments. But insecurity also is a challenge. Overriding and competing communal and granted private interests. A county like Tana River, they gave us inventories. But when you go to process those inventories, you find the land they have given us as community land. It's private land. There are private farms, private ranches, who are paying rates to the county government, which has forwarded the inventory to us. And the leases are yet to expire. So the reasons are many. And I want to summarize by saying each issue, each community has a reason why we have not rolled out the comprehensive adjudication program. Funding is not a problem. Sometimes you could have the funding, but you don't have, you don't start something that you know you are not going anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know time will not allow us to exhaustively, share the challenges and the issues, but I think you've done justice to the questions that were asked. Can we ask Madam probably from NLC to just also make a quick reflection? Do you have a mic?
I'll try to be very brief. Niko na nyingi sana. First, I'll start with DRC. Sijui kama ako hapa bado. Representative wa DRC. Oh, ayuko? Huh? Yuko? Okay, let me proceed with the others. Because I wanted to tell them they can leverage on the They have recently, they are the newest baby in the regional organizations, even professional ones. So they can leverage on that. I'll be very quick. Second, what is the role of the Commission in community land registration? Briefly, we oversee and work with the ministry because of the land which has been set aside for public utilities to ensure that it is registered for that purpose. But also in the Constitution, we oversee the comprehensive registration. We advise on all registrations, including community land. So development partners in the room, that is an area we can partner in to sensitize the communities and to advise the stakeholders and to accelerate the process. This will depend sometimes on the goodwill from our experience and or lack of it from the particular county government. So this one will differ. So you can leverage on the goodwill of the county governments, but sometimes it's lacking. So there's a lot of sensitization needed around that. And opportunities to do it. I gave you the example of the Paka community in Baringo, where it was a condition precedent before payment was done that we accelerated the process of that registration of that community, and it took only 3 months. Boundaries and conflict. There's a gap in the law, and it's something we have been discussing, and we can do a research around that with development partners in the room, because as it was raised, it's a cause of death at conflict in a lot of parts of the country. Recently, we did a mediation for 3 counties, Makueni, Taita Taveta, and Kwale, because the court referred the matter to us. Actually, the judge was very funny, Justice Naikuni. He said he has looked up to the sky, and he can only call upon the National Land Commission to come to the aid. It was a nice mediation process where a committee of the commission was able to put the matter to rest through mediation. And that is something we can also deal with in the different dispute the representative of the Ministry of Land was talking about between different communities, because mediation is a constitutional mandate that we have been given under Article 252 of the Constitution. And we also partner, actually I sit myself, I represented the Commission in the AJS Judiciary Committee, which most of you have heard about. Here in Isiolo, Mr. Seti is sitting with me in that group. And we know that in this 80% land, which falls under SCAL, we are very well constituted communities. And we can be able to sit down with them and iron out some of the matters instead of dragging in court for years. On the issue of overlapping of boundaries, one of the things which I find people don't understand, and I think we need to unbundle the Commission's mandate and the roles of the other actors. It's something which actually should be done, and that is another area we can partner in with development partners and stakeholders. Because it's assumed that people actually understand what land administration is. And what it means is the determination, dissemination, updating, and even transfer of ownership, value, and user rights. Now, what does that mean? We have a lot of laws even before the 2010 Constitution, and the course of action, if it arose before 2010, then we have to apply that law that time, which is a lot of comprehensive work which needs to be done. But then if you go to the lawyers, they are very expensive and it will drag for a long time. So that is why the Commission is supposed to do inquiries during what most of you are more aware about, to establish rights and interest when there's conversion from private to public. That is the so-called compensation. It is not about the payment. The money, of course, will come from the acquiring body, from Treasury, but the most important thing is to determine who should be paid, how much they should be paid. And that is going, of course, to apply also to the payment of the so-called, there was a question, let me combine with that to be quick, about the so-called carbon credits. Now, in the Constitution, land includes the air and everything underground. So that is yours if it's community land. All of that is yours. And then, of course, when it comes to this carbon credits and investments around this, even forestry, even minerals, we are talking about, first of all, a need to facilitate the communities to understand what their role is and what this entails. And it has to be much more than this informed consent we are always talking about. Because you can refuse to consent, but you have to know which choice are you making. Do you keep your cows because you are getting more money? Do you give some of the land for these carbon credits, or do you refuse? But it has to be much more than just giving a consent. You have to be able to refuse to give that consent, but you need to be supported to know this information. I don't know whether some of you know that when it comes to these environmental issues, the county has a supporting constitutional mandate under the fourth schedule, but we will need to unbundle that and come up with a framework which shows clearly what are the operational and administrative roles of the different actors. And that is the role of the Commission and Section 19 of the Land Act, and that is an area we can partner in. For a reason I don't understand, it is one of the few regulations which have never been done when they were being done in 2017. So that is an area which is very important, especially with these new regulations which have just been gazetted. So when we are talking about what is the role of the Commission about overlapping of land, or even where allocation or it has been illegally or irregularly done. Now, that's why we have an investigative mandate in the Constitution. Unfortunately, in spite of a lot of push, just like the ESCC, Parliament has not been very supportive in legislating our investigative mandate. It's something myself personally and the chair we have been trying to push, but we will need a lot of lobbying from development partners to make that a reality. That is the reason why you will find we have currently 11,330 public, private, and also community injustices, which we cannot be able to come up with this investigation because we are not funded. The so-called historical ones, which are allowed, are only 1,037. So we need this to be legislated so that we can have we can be able to resource for the funding from Treasury and other actors as a project. We need it to be legislated so that we can be able to have teeth and power like ESCC. It was only when they were able to do that when they were able to do the work you see they are doing. Because if you call somebody to come and give testimony from a certain actor and they don't turn up, we cannot even find them. But ESCC is able to find them. So we would need those teeth for that to be a reality and to be funded. Okay. I had 14 actually. Nimejaribu. So which one? Oh, I leave it. Let me continue another thing. Okay. I'm trying to merge them. Okay. This is a very important area, so let me not even forget it. Now, somebody asked whether the forest rights for environmental management are more important than the rights of the communities which have been living there. And of course, all of you know about the Ogiek case and the socio-economic rights they have in the Constitution. Now, that is why the Constitution has that delicate balance which we have to make under Article 69 about what constitutes public rights and which one should overweigh the other one. Now, on that issue, let me answer together with the issue of the 40%. The 40%, which somebody asked about it, which should go to a good question. Especially, it's even worse than you think. I'm sorry. Because the regulations now have come up with another way of assessing the 40%, the ones which we are gazetted. That's an area we need to look into and discuss it during this summit. They are saying in the regulation, it is not just about the aggregate profits, but it's also about the cost of doing business. That is very big. So much more will be taken than what you expect. Another area I don't want to leave I don't know whether NEMA is here, because we are talking about carbon credit. That is the ADT which has been set out to be the national, that ND. Okay, we can discuss that with them. Okay, there's another area which I feel it's very important to address. This is the area of PPA, and I'll end up with that. There's this thing we hear, PPA, or FPA, okay? And thank you very much, Impact, for helping the people of Marsabit to deal with the case of Turkana wind power. Now, let me just give you a very short example. It is established under the European Human Rights Court that FPA cannot be a condition of losing your land. Why? Because it's not a necessary criteria for people to lose all the land because you are getting an investor. Okay? So I'm just trying to be very brief about this. It is not a reason for acquisition of land. That this land goes to an investor because you are going to get some few miserable jobs. No, it's not, and it cannot be. And I'm looking for a day when it can be legislated. But recently, there's jurisprudence coming out of the court. I don't know whether some of you have read about the Mamagina University, where the land tribunal said that the necessity criteria threshold had not been established. We have to look at the proportionality of what you are losing. Okay? If you are losing 150,000 acres of land in Marsabit for wind power, okay? What are you getting out of it? Where are you going to graze your cattle? Is it necessary? Since we have geothermal and many other questions around that. So that is evolving from the court, and it's an area we can develop and discuss. I think I've tried to be brief. Thank you.
Let me say thank you so much. Samahani na kuomba tafadhali. Najua tutapata muda wa kurejelea haya mazungumzo kwa vikao vingine ambavyo vinakuja. Angalia programu yako, utaona bado tuko na nafasi nzuri ya kuendelea huu mjadala. Lakini kwa niaba ya hawa panelists, nashukuru sana kwa kujitolea kwenu kujibu haya maswali. Najua muda haujaturuhusu kufanyia justice ama kuhakikisha kwamba tumeyajibu vikamilifu, lakini bado kikao kinaendelea. Wale wenye maswali, najua ni wengi, mna maswali kadhaa, pengine ungependa kufafanuliwa jambo lingine zaidi, lakini kwa sasa lazima tuweze kuchukua break, chukue nafasi tukatafute chakula. Baada ya chakula tutarejea hapa kuendelea na mjadala. Maneno ya carbon credit na mambo mengine, kuna programs zingine ama nafasi zingine nzuri sana za kuangazia some of those questions. So kindly, if we say we take additional questions, hatutaenda lunch. So and it is human, and kwa health yetu ama kwa afya zetu tunahitaji chakula na pia nafasi ya kunyoosha miguu kidogo. So kindly with the able panelist here, thank you so much for the time. Tuwapatie makofi kwanza kabla tujaondoka, kisha tuende tukakule chakula. Tafadhali. Wacha tumalizie hapo na tupatie huyu anasema asante. Bila maswali tafadhali.
Wacha nishukuru. Nataka kusema nimeshukuru registrar yetu kwa kuuliza swali na kujibu hapo. Amesema ile gazette notice ya Gotu hiyo itatupiliwa mbali, itabaki ya kina na kula mawe. Asante sana.
Gazette notice pengine mtajadiliana na yeye kupata ufafanuzi zaidi kama kuna chochote. Asanteni sana. Let's break for lunch and then we will be back here in the next 1 hour. Na hiyo itakuwa saa ngapi? We will be back here at exactly 4 o'clock. Saa 10 kamili tutarejea. Yes. Saa hii saa 9.
It's not